Today, I have the honor to talk to Chris Smith, the creator of the podcast Leading America. He's also an Air Force veteran and a project manager. Chris, welcome in this episode.
Thanks for having me on, Alex.
So you created the podcast Leading America. I love this because I think America is in need of leadership. So, what made you create this awesome new podcast?
I think this is a great country. I grew up around the world as an Air Force brat, and I've seen a lot of great things. But America, just if you have the attitude, you can really make it here. And a lot of people are forgetting that. I want to remind them that the dream's not done. You can still dream it. You can still make your dream come reality.
Yeah, so I'm from Europe, from the Netherlands. So we don't have the American dream. We only have the Dutch dream. But the Dutch did go to New York first. It was called New Amsterdam, and the Dutch sold it, and now it's New York. And you have the American dream. So people all over the world go to America. You live the dream. So what's happening right now? What's happening to the dream?
The Americans, they don't think the dream exists anymore. It's fairly difficult to make a living, and it's fairly difficult to work your way up. But they don't realize if they double down and they really try, the dream is still there. Now I want to remind them that there's no kind of life just to give up before you try.
So what happened? When did the Americans wake up?
We had to wake them up. Like, for instance, my friend, he was a dishwasher, but he's one of the smartest people I ever met. But he just couldn't see past his position. He couldn't see that he was capable of more. And I hate seeing that. I want to remind people with that fire inside them, tell them to put some fuel into the fire.
I grew up in the 80s with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Stallone, all the heroes, the big American dream. So you even went in the army. So can you tell us about what is happening right now? Why is the dream going away? I see all kinds of fighting in America. I watch it mostly on YouTube. I see all kinds of infighting, divide and conquer, it seems. What's happening? What caused this?
People are divided. They've started to think that everything should be easy. What you learn when you go into the Air Force, the Army, what you learn is you can make a real good living and you can learn a good trade and you can become a better man or a better woman, but you have to put in the work to get there. But a lot of people, the way they were brought up, they don't understand that you have to chisel and grind and turn yourself into what you could be. They just want to be that automatic.
Okay, so how do you see this in the workforce? I heard a lot of people in America that they're in a bore out and they're quietly quitting their job, doing the least amount necessary to not get fired. So the new benchmark is to not get fired.
Yeah, it's sad. I see that. Like I know a gentleman, and he's in his 60s, very intelligent. He's resourceful. He's creative, but he has a job where he's barely making enough to make a living, and he's just giving up. So he's doing just enough to survive. And it's just sad to see. I look at this man, and I could see him being a vice president of a company if he just got motivated. And that's sad.
Oh, it's very, very, very sad. So what I also notice is when because I'm usually a very joyful guy, and we have similar things here in the Netherlands. When I come with my positivity, a lot of people reject it. So I've become very, very aware to whom I speak about this positivity, because I get rejected. They just don't want to hear it. You have to be very careful when I go to companies and I see how things can be better. I have to be very careful what I say, because it seems like people want to live in this misery. They want to be reinforced that this is the way to go, that there's no happy ending or there's no better place.
Yeah. That's crazy to me. I see it all the time. They drink a lot of alcohol, they do drugs, they eat fast food, 2 or 3 meals a day. And it's just sad. All you got to do is make some basic changes and you can improve your quality of life. If you just improve your diet alone, you'll feel better throughout the day. and a lot of them, they get into a rut. They don't have any energy because they eat a bad diet. They don't sleep enough. They stay up all night watching TV, and they only get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. So that their lifestyle just has been so drained, they can't do what it takes to get ahead.
So I think this is an excellent point you brought up. So in corporate America, a lot of managers, a lot of CEOs have trouble to get all the people active, to join the cause.
Yeah.
But you talk about this. You talk about the mental condition, the sleep, the alcohol. Could you tell us a little bit something about that? How important is this when you're trying to lead a company? Because we're talking about, it's not really managing. You're always leading people.
Your mind needs to be sharp. And if you don't live a good life outside of work, then you can't live a good life inside of work. If you don't take care of your body, your mind isn't going to work properly, and you're not going to see the best in people or the situation because you're going to be tired.
So I'm curious because I never went into the army. I'm so sad about that. When I turned 18, it was mandatory in the Netherlands, but it was just before I turned 18, we didn't have to go. So I didn't go.
Yeah.
And I always regretted that I couldn't go. So I'm talking about you. You've been in the army, but correct me if I'm wrong. You're not really in the army. What are the branches? Because I don't know. Can you explain the differences?
I was in the Air Force, and it's a much smaller branch than the Army. It's more specialized towards technical things like communication system support. The Army is very broad. It covers absolutely everything. It's almost a one all-inclusive unit. But we help the Army, so we're still, in a way, we're part of the Army, and we do a lot of things to help them.
So like the specialization, specialist. Well, getting into words. You're the specialized, the covert operations, the CIA of the Army.
Maybe the CIA's right hand.
The brands. Okay. So how does it work when you're in the Air Force? How does leadership work?
The general has a project that like a large scale project that helped the military he creates. And he gives a lot of different like higher ranking people tasks. And by the time these tasks have distributed, thousands of people are actually involved to complete this large project. And failure is not an option. So if you have if your branch of the project has 100 people and it's not working out, you don't quit. You have meetings and you find the talent from within. And like a lot of times there'll be colonels and high ranking people, but it might be a airman first class, somebody's only been in the Air Force a year because of a solution. Because they look at everyone and they say, we got to get it done. Give me ideas. If it comes down to it, everybody you have to give ideas for weeks. You got to find a way, and they always find a way, and never fail.
So the perception I had from the Army was that everything comes top down. You have the general, and he tells the soldiers what to do. That's not the case.
It's not direct. Yeah, it's not directly the case. He created the scope is so large. He sounds like he's telling them what to do, but they're really more independent because there's all the subunits.
Can I see it like this? There are task groups, and the leader asks for inputs.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't see a lot of that in corporate here in the Netherlands. How is that in America?
I miss the military a lot of the time when it comes to corporate because in the corporate, they don't look at the individuals as much as they should sometimes, and they miss out on a lot of talent. There's a lot of very talented people that could solve their problem right in front of them, and then they'll hire somebody from the outside when they have somebody better right in front of them because they weren't looking.
So can you tell us a little bit about what managers, leaders, CEOs have to do to get more performance out of their people? What can they say? What can they do? How can they motivate them? How can they train them to get them to actually perform the tasks, get to the goal?
They should ask the employees what their interests are and where their talents lie, and give them a chance to, even if it's off the clock, just give them a chance to work with people within that company that do the job that they think they would be good at, and give them a chance to get their hands on it and see if they have the potential to learn. And if they do, they could set up a mentorship program when they go to college and intern part-time doing that position while they also continue to fill their old position.
Okay, so why isn't this happening? It sounds so simple. We have the model already. We have the Air Force model. We have the Army model. Why is corporate America sleeping on this?
Because the people that are doing tasks are so critical at at whatever level they're at, that they don't want to take the risk of moving them and having these positions empty. It's easier just to hire new people from the outside.
Would you explain?
Yeah, if you have 20 people assembling cameras in the camera factory, and you have one person that is a go-getter and they want to become an engineer, but the plant manager doesn't want to lose that go-getter. He needs that person there assembling cameras. If he's one person short, they're not going to hit their quota. So he'd rather hire an engineer from the outside than an intern engineer that started working for him, because he doesn't want to lose that. He doesn't want to risk losing his quota.
So it's because also the managers are thinking very short-sighted.
Yeah.
So, but that kind of thinking also comes from top down. I like to believe that everything comes top down. The way the higher management behaves is exactly how it is on all layers.
Yeah. So if you see a pattern, it's not a mistake. It's coming from the top.
So, but what can we do about this?
Well, I understand that these positions need to be filled. They need to keep the production levels up. I mean, that's fair. They have a business to run. They need to make their profit. But what they can do is they can offer programs where outside of work, they could train these people for other jobs. So that way they're not interfering. They're not interfering with the production process if they're training them outside of work hours. And if the person really wants to move up to another department, they'll work for less money or even free off the clock if they're learning something, because you're having an opportunity to free mentorship in your company. So the company's offering a free mentorship. You got to match it by doing something yourself. If that means putting on some work, doing some work that's educational, it's educational, it's not paid. That's pricing paid for the opportunity.
It's also true. And an important thing also is lack of appreciation. So what you're talking about is to have an eye for the individual, give training, not be so fearful, not just thinking about your own bottom line, but being really appreciative. So what are your thoughts about that, about appreciating your workers, your peers?
That's a complex topic. People need to feel validated. If they don't feel validated, it creates stress, mental illness, it creates a lot of problems with people, and it also reduces loyalty. So if you validate them and show them appreciation, that increases loyalty, and they're going to stay there and help you with your production process longer instead of just sidestepping to another similar position in another company. So even though it seems like you're going off track to show people appreciation and train them, you're really not, because you're retaining somebody who knows how to do the job and they've already proven they can do it well. You don't have to hire a new person and hope it works out.
So I'm going to work at Chris Inc. I'm new. I really do want to work for you. How would you show me your appreciation?
I would shake your hand and talk to you and get to know you. I would look at your resume. I would get to know more about you than just if you have two hands and you can do the job I have. I want to get to know you on a personal level, at least a little bit, to feel what else you can do with my company. Because maybe you can partially fill up the role.
I'm not feeling it yet. I want to be more appreciated.
Yeah.
What are you going to do for me?
Alex, it's a pleasure to meet you. We really I see the potential you have, and I think you can grow here. I want you to start in this department, but we want to train you and move you up, because I know that you can do things for us and we can do things for you.
What I feel is high expectation for me and a belief that I can do it.
Yeah.
I think the opposite of what's going on in America right now.
Well, no, I think if you come here and prove yourself, we even have a scholarship that you can go to college.
So I'm lining up. My desire is even more growing.
Yeah.
So, of course, so you have to believe in your personnel. Okay, so then we have a slacker.
Yeah.
Alex, I really believe in you. I'm like, okay, this guy really believes in me, but I'm a slacker. I'm not going to work. What are you going to do to motivate me?
I'm going to show you that I'm going to give you every chance to perform, but the burden of performance is also on you at the same time. It's not all on me to motivate you. I'm going to try to find out if something's going on with you, if I can help you within reason. And if you don't want to accept the help and extra training, then I might have to replace you. It's unfortunate.
Well, you're moving fast. So let's do the role play. So you ask me into your office, you say, Alex, because of my bad performance, how does that conversation go?
Alex, you know, I interviewed you and I know you have potential and I've seen you shine some days, but some days it's like you're not with us. Is everything okay? It's like it's like you don't want to be here or you got something else going on that's more important than work. Like, I'm here for you. Is there something you want to talk about?
Yeah, that's the way to go, because it's not about the target. It's not about you're not doing the work. So you're trying to find out what is, because everybody has busy lives.
Yeah.
We have wives, children, 1,000 things that can go wrong. But we have to shut it off at work. You know, you have the work persona, totally different, and we have the away from home, or away from work persona.
Yeah.
But you're not afraid. So why don't managers, leaders, don't they engage in these kinds of conversations, do you think?
Well, I have, like, it's not, I personally observe managers and I've done this myself, with employees that usually perform well and they're not performing well. They recognize that person has something going on and they'll tell them, you know, go take an extra break. They'll clear your head. Like, if they see him really down, they'll say, hey man, hey, you know, go stand outside, go outside for 15 minutes, get some fresh air, come back. And I believe in that. Sometimes, like, when you can tell somebody's overwhelmed, give them a little bit extra room to breathe more than you would normally.
So, but then that I'm not doing the work and I'm going down and I have more and more problems. And I think, oh, Chris, he gives me the time off, but I'm not improving. What to do then?
Well, I'm going to go to HR, look at the resources we have that help with
Fire.
No, not hard. No, because a lot of companies have resources, like they have therapists available for the employees. I'm going to go to HR and discuss the options to help you to help you start feeling okay again and get back on track.
Yeah, because sometimes the employees just need help. Yeah. Because you can say, I hope you get well, but if employees don't have the tools, nothing happens.
Yeah.
So let's say you're in a company and you want to make a giant shift. Happens a lot. We work this kind of way, but we're going to work another kind of way. What do you do to motivate, inspire the people on the job to be on the same page?
Yeah. I'll tell them that I'll give them an outline of what's happening, and I'll do my best to make sure the shift happens in stages, not all at once, to give them a chance to adapt. And I'll also tell them I appreciate them at the end of each workday.
Appreciation, big part. So how do you do this? You have a giant shift, but you have to give the speech. Do you do the speech like in Wolf of Wall Street?
No, not that intense. I would just pull the team together towards the end of the workday and tell them, I appreciate that you've been working and you've adapted to these new processes without hesitation. And I see what you do. It's not unnoticed, and I appreciate it. And all of us need to do this, including myself, because this is part of this is a stipulation of our employment. And without you, I wouldn't be there either. So I appreciate you.
So you always have a lot of people in a company, I don't know how much it is, maybe half, and they just say, why are we changing? I want to do things the old way. And they won't change. I think it's part of human nature. I don't know it.
Because they got comfortable, and I'll communicate with them to help keep them comfortable. It's like, this change does not mean your job is jeopardized. Your job is still secure. We're doing things differently, but this is still the same company. You still have the same coworkers, and you're not going anywhere. So you have nothing to worry about.
And do you handle the different kinds of people differently? Like, you also have the people who jump on the opportunity. They're like, yes, finally change. Maybe the young people.
Yeah. I make sure to spend time with everybody individually each shift, at least a little bit of time with everybody.
Do you employ the trick that you first talk to the people that you know who want to change?
Yeah. I use them as cheerleaders in a way. I really kind of boost them up and make a big deal about how well they're performing.
Cheerleaders.
Not a cheerleader and example. They're just everything. They're our shining beacon that help keep the place lit up.
Yeah, what usually happens if you have indeed the cheerleaders and you have a big enough mass, the rest just will follow.
Yeah.
But you just have to give it time. And what I also learned was not to react. You know, the first response might be negative, but it's like you're planting a seed. It's like inception.
Yep.
And it grows and it grows. So I used to, when I had new ideas and people were not receptive, I jumped on it. I was trying to convince them, look at all the opportunities, but my mind works totally different. So I can see what isn't there yet, but a lot of people can't see it and they just need more time.
Yeah.
I use the inception method.
Yeah. Even if just one employee feels really bad about it, they talk bad all day, it's not going to be long before two employees and a lot of people follow suit and start becoming really negative. And what I'll do is I'll take that person when they're starting to act like this and I'll go buy lunch and talk to them to try to boost them up. I'll buy lunch out of my own pocket and just try to stop the negativity before it spreads.
I think it's this kind of treatment is rare. And I think with this alone, people will just light up. And what I don't understand is it doesn't take much.
It doesn't, but you don't see it very often. Now, I don't know why, to be honest with you. I don't know why we don't see this more often.
I've been consulting for a while. What I see is managers are also afraid of their jobs. So they're looking at the numbers because it might be that their manager is looking at the numbers. And if they're not meeting their quotas, they get yelled at. Maybe not yelled at, but they feel it. So they're very afraid. And because their managers aren't leading them the inspiring way, they just do what they see. They do the same thing to the people who they have to lead. I think it's a shame.
I think it's a shame too. I've felt the pressure, a lot of pressure as a manager before. When I decide that it stops with me, I'm not gonna let it roll downhill. That's a lot of the reason that exercise and taking care of your health is important to me. Because you need to go as a manager, go to the gym, exercise, blow off some steam without drinking, get your strength back up. That way you can stop the ball. You can stop that ball that's rolling downhill and stops at you.
So what made you so different? Because most people they just copy.
It was a choice. I was at work one day and I was looking at everybody's eyes and just saw how defeated they were. And I said, I'm not gonna make them feel any worse than they already are. I'm gonna make them feel better. Okay. It was a choice.
You had this moment in time, the light shone out of the clouds, the sun, you saw all the people, you saw their eyes.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not part of this anymore.
Yes. That's exactly what it was.
It's like, I don't love it. You gotta write this in your book.
Okay.
Leading America. So Chris, I was never in the army. I was never in the Air Force.
Yeah.
So I have this. So my what I think about it is what I see in the movies. You know, like Navy SEALs, Black Hawk Down.
Yeah.
So you were actually in the Air Force. Can you talk to us a little bit? Can you give us best practices on how you can use the principles that you learned in the Air Force and how you can use this in corporate America when leading people? What are the things that the Americans need to do?
So a lesson I built on the Air Force, it started before I joined the Air Force when I started lifting weights. A lot of the reason I did that is to be protective of people. So when I joined the Air Force, I became the size of a small bodybuilder. And the reason was I wanted to protect the people I work with in the Air Force around me. Because by reaching the physical peak, people look at you, the officers and even sometimes I met generals, they look at you and they realize somebody with a body like that works hard and they're on their purpose. And that instantly gets you the respect.
That's so true. And you're also a pretty big guy, right? What's your height?
Yeah, I was even bigger back then. I was a pretty big, I'm a pretty big guy.
No, in your height. How tall are you?
6'5".
6'5". So you're already towering over everybody. And you're muscular.
Yes. Very, very muscular when I put in the work.
Like Universal Soldier.
Yeah, bigger though.
Bigger than, yeah, of course, bigger than Van Damme. But so, what are the principles we can teach?
Well, so I was a protective, being protective. Not, I was a protective leader, not just of the people I work with, but of the job itself. I took it personal that the mission was complete because I know how important it was to national security. And by having that attitude, I that just having that protective attitude towards both the job and the people I work with, that gave me a can do attitude naturally came with that, and I became very resourceful. And I've learned to recognize other resourceful people. We would team up together, and when there was problems that would usually stop a job, I always found people to work with, and we would always find a solution pretty quickly.
Is this something you're born with?
No, it came from hard work. I I was struggling when I moved to this country. I had to do manual labor for very little money, and it was hard on my body. So I started lifting weights really hard, so it wouldn't be as hard on my body to lift all these sandbags and do this hard being. So that way, I would be breaking my body from hard manual labor anymore. So it just developed over time.
Yeah, that's true. But you took the responsibility, the ownership. Like, I'm going to be muscular. I'm going to be the protector. So I grew up in the 80s, right? With all the Jean-Claude Van Damme, Steven Seagals, Schwarzenegger, all the heroes in the movies. Is this something you can relate to?
I would, yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Dolph Lundgren from Rocky Four, Sylvester Stallone, even though they were portrayed as leaders that often in the movies, the grind mindset they taught, where it showed them training hard and succeeding and pushing past obstacles, that that really resonated with me when I was a teenager.
Yeah, I knew it was something. That's the American dream in the 80s movies, in the 80s action movies.
Yeah, I want to be like Arnold. I wanted to be strong enough that if life came to be hard, I would be big and powerful and push back even harder.
So you chose that way. Can you explain why a lot of people don't have that? What's the difference between you and the other people?
This goes back to being bullied as a young teenager when I lived in a little village in England. The adults and the older teenagers will literally like beat me up real bad. And I decided I didn't want to hide all the time. I'm like, something in me just didn't want to hide and hope to be okay. So I started mowing lawns to get money to pay for martial arts classes. Because I was like, I refuse to hide and spend my life hiding from people. I want to become stronger than them so they can't attack me anymore.
And what age were you when you started martial arts?
11.
11,
Yes, sir.
right before puberty. So you started, what martial arts did you do?
Hapkido was in Belleville, England. There was a teacher that taught Hapkido. That was the only martial art they taught there. But it was really good because nobody wanted to learn. And there was literally 2 teachers and 1 student, me. So it was just, it was a hell of an opportunity. I was being taught by two people by myself.
So I also started martial arts, but I was 18. But you gain a lot of discipline. It's like the army, but you started at 11.
They build on each other because when you're in the Air Force, they recognize, they see that in you. They see that you have what they're trying to teach. They see you already have it. And they come and push you to become even more of what you already are. So they took those lessons I learned in martial arts and actually just taught me more of the same. They built on it. They recognize that in people. You don't have to tell them. They can see it.
I think it's different when you're doing another sport like basketball or football.
Yeah, that I don't know how to compare them. It's very different.
Yeah, that's true. When I used to go and I used to be a soccer player in the Netherlands,
Yeah.
but it's totally different because what happens on the field, people just the players just yell at each other. You have to get the ball. So it's very it's a fighting. It's much more like a fighting environment. And then I went to martial arts, and it's all peaceful.
That's all.
Beforehand, I would expect the opposite, like just fighting. And also in my experience, the best fighters are the most peaceful ones.
Yeah.
And I always I think there is a resemblance with the lion. So you see the big lion is very strong, but he's very calm. But when I see a little dog on the street, what do they always do? They're very aggressive. Like the smaller the animals are, like pigeons, are hyper aggressive.
Little dorks are actually more dangerous than a person can fight, because they're more likely to stab you in the back, or you don't know what they'll do. They're unpredictable. They're more dangerous than somebody.
Yeah, somebody who can fight knows he can fight. His ego is less into play, and they're very calm. You can see it. You can see if you're a fighter. You can see it in another fighter. Yeah. I heard a great analogy about the samurai. The samurai with the sword, he's still, but inside it's like a gyroscope spinning.
He doesn't miss a detail. He's
right. Everything. Right. So I think a lot of that is what helped you gain that insight. Yeah. And this is what you bring right now, where you're leading other people. Yes. Like the warrior mindset.
I did a speech in English class when I was a sophomore in high school, because they actually did a debate where they were saying that people learn to fight a violent people, and I stood up. And I was the only person in the entire class that defended fighters, saying actually they're the least violent people. They can defend you. They protect you against the people that actually will harm you. And through all that hard work on themselves, they're calmer. They're all that hard work and training and sparring and physical exercise. You can go yell at them in their face, and it's going to take them longer to physically attack you than what a regular person, because they built up discipline. But they've also built up enough confidence that you can't just reach in and poke their ego. You got to get past it. They got defensive. It's hard to hit their ego.
And another one, I heard Jordan Peterson talk about this. Before you can become a good person, you have to become a dangerous person. You have to become a monster.
I agree with that. That's why I think it's important to learn a little bit of dark psychology as well. It makes you learn it not to manipulate people, but to recognize manipulation so you can stop it.
Yeah, also true. But you can say, I'm peaceful, I'm a pacifist. But when something happens on the streets, you see somebody being attacked, you can say, I'm a nice person. But if you aren't even able to do something about it, are you really a good person? Or are you a bad person because you didn't take the time to develop yourself, to become powerful, to become strong in order to help the other people? Because a lot of people are docile. No, I'm a nice person. No, you are a dangerous person.
That is a very important point. Like, I was eating in a restaurant after going to a bar one night. It's about midnight, and somebody says there's a fight outside, and I walk outside, and I'm just, I walk outside with the intent of just neutralizing. But I see 5 guys kicking a guy laying on the ground, a pool of his own blood. There's got to be 1 or 2 inches of blood like he's laying in. That's a lot, and he's unconscious, and they're still beating on him. And there's like 100 people there just watching, not do anything. And I go up. I was the only person, and I was scared. Don't get me wrong, but I had enough confidence that I could defend myself, that I could stop these 5 guys that attacked me. And I said, guys, he's had luck. He's unconscious. And one of them came up, and he was about to strike me. And I was waiting so I wouldn't be arrested. It had to be self-defense. I was waiting and make the first move. And somebody ran up and stopped him right before he got to me. And then the 5 people that attacked him started talking to each other. And I looked over at somebody else that had a look of concern on his face. I never met this guy, but I could tell he cared. And I said to him, grab this guy, get him in your car, and get him out of here while they distract me. They grabbed him up, snatched him, and drove him off, but he didn't turn around.
And how many people in that situation would just walk away?
Not 100, because that's about how many were watching.
One of the last times I had to intervene was a long time ago. I was in the city, working in the city with my girlfriend at the time, and there was a group of 10 girls, maybe 16-year-olds, were bidding on one girl. In the middle of the street, everybody was walking by. I saw it. I'm like, what is this? They're pulling her hair, and women, I used to be cop. Women, when they fight, they are vicious. When men fight, when I was a police officer and I came on the scene, I could spread them apart. Okay, stop fighting, and the men would stop. Women grab hair, just keep fighting. They don't care. So I saw this happening. So this girl was on the floor. The girls were kicking. Like, I got to do something. I just pulled one of them off the girl that was lying on the ground. She just grabbed the hair, kept pulling it. Even when I pulled her away, I had to grab her hands, do a wrist lock, get to get it loose. And then the girls spread, and they had like this demonic smile on their face. I was looking like, what? And there were a lot of people around me. And I was very aware. I'm like, okay, they can jump me. They're girls, but they can jump me. It was so strange to see, but nobody helped.
I'd be more scared of breaking up 10 girls with 5 guys.
That's true, but it was like a reflex.
Yeah.
Told my girlfriend, I said to my girlfriend, okay, go stand over there. I walked in, I pulled them off. I think, okay, maybe they'll stop. They just keep getting at it. So strange, but you have to be willing to do that, to take the risk.
I had a similar situation. A girl just gave birth. I was at a nightclub, and I knew one of my friends was there. She just gave birth like a few days before, and another girl came and tried to attack her. I'm like, you can't attack her. She just gave birth. You know, like her body is still healing. And then she tried to hit her. So all I did was put my arm in front of the other girl that tried to hit her, and then just like gently push her backwards with my arm. And this other girl that was with her started screaming at the top of her voice, he just hit a girl. He just hit a girl. These guys can't try to fight me. Like, what they lack in physical, well, I don't want to go there, but a psychological attack is dangerous. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. So also, yeah. So what you said it, you have to be psychologically aware about how people can manipulate you. So it's just not it's not just a physical strength.
Oh, not at all.
Also, you have to know how people can deceive you, because I don't know the American term for it. Work with the elbows. You have to be aware with it, but also as a leader, because if you don't, you'll just listen to your employee that talks shit about another one covertly, and you'll just believe it. So you have to test all assumptions. What I do, I just listen. Oh, really? Okay, what makes you say that?
You get to the bottom of it. You don't just you get to the bottom of it, find the truth.
Yeah, and I like to be I like to listen and just ask questions.
Yeah.
And usually when there's a lie, something, it goes wrong because they don't memorize the entire lie.
Yeah, if you make them unpack it, then the cracks show.
So do you have some of those talkative skills? How do you get to the bottom of things? Because not everybody is truthful. It could be because they're scared. Employees may be scared because maybe something is going on and they're afraid to lose their jobs. What do you do to make them at ease and maybe dive a little bit deeper?
Well, one thing, when you have a group of people, say at least 10, there's going to be different kinds of personalities, and different personalities are naturally not compatible with each other. So I try to listen to people, pair them with people that are actually compatible working with if you work in groups. Because otherwise, no matter how good of a leader you are, they're still going to silently stew and hate each other, even if it's not out loud. And it's best just not to happen at all. And that's step one. And then step two, like you said, even if that's not enough, there's still conflict. I unpack it. I look at their face. I try to feel it. I try to empathize and feel what they're feeling, so I can actually get to the bottom of it instead of just. I try to feel their emotions. I don't agree, but I try to feel their emotions so I get to the bottom of it. And then I also by empathy, like having empathy and communicating with them at a deeper level, they're more receptive to problem solving and trying to find something that works for everyone than if you just try to pull out a book and talk them like a robot.
That's true. And they just have to sit there and listen. And it's very easy to lie. So I also like to use the silent parts to see what happens. Yeah. So you said one thing. You said you also look at how compatible people are with each other. And what I usually see in corporations is they just put people together. They don't look at if they're compatible, yes or no. It's like they're playing a game of checkers instead of chess.
Yeah. And that's a hard issue because you don't want to say one person's better than another when you're dividing them. You want to frame it like who do you naturally work with best? You want to frame it positively. That way you're not putting anyone down by not working.
Yeah, that's so true. So I like that aspect. Really look at I think with leadership, we try to look at the whole, but usually also in smaller teams, you have to pay attention to each team member because each one has his own characteristics, what they're good at. But you have to really look at it. So I wish this would happen more. So you started the podcast, Leading America. I love it. What can the listeners expect the coming months?
It's going to go back to the basics. A lot of the time, you can get really deep into things, and there's a lot of good information. And I'm going to start with the basics because what I've really observed is the basics aren't being addressed anymore. So it's the basics of leadership, the basics of communication, the basic interpersonal skills. You can improve as a manager a long way just by the basic level of empathy, basic respect, listening, paying attention to people. The basic things are being done.
That's so true, because we always chase a new frameworks, this management type skill or this, but it's just a basic, like how do you really listen? How do you see the potential? How do you show appreciation?
Yeah.
How easy is this? Appreciation.
Yeah.
We forget. And what I notice, and that's why I love your podcast, is that we have to keep repeating this. We have to listen to it over and over again, because it's not, you hear it one time and you know it. No, you have to hear it one time from this perspective, from this person, from the other person, from lots of different vantage points. And then it goes deep into your brain, and then you also apply it. And if you do that, well, you're leading America.
And that's the thing you do with employees too. You have to explain to them from different perspectives according to their personality. That's why it's important to get to know each and every one of them on a personal level.
So I'm really excited to go on this journey with you. I'm really excited to see what kind of new insights and what kind of old insights that need to be drilled you'll be sharing with us on the episode. So Chris, I want to thank you a lot for talking to me. I learned a lot, and I'm here in Europe. You're in America, land of the free, home of the brave. You're going to bring back the American dream again. So thank you, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Alex. I appreciate you. It's been a pleasure.